All I have in this world is my balls and my word, and I don't break them for no one. Do you understand?
G'day guys, Chaos Chronicles. All right, so I get asked all the time, like literally all the time, if I can make a video on the corruption by the screws. So 100% I'm going to do this video, but you guys need to know that I've got to be very careful in what I say and stuff because, you know, like I always say in my other clips, there is a fine line between telling a story and telling on somebody. So, yeah, I always try and be as straight down the line as I can. But anyway, all right, so corruption with the screws, like it's a massive, massive thing. And like I think it's probably 10 times more worse than anyone thinks it is, especially in the private sectors like the private prisons. You know, in Victoria, we've got Port Phillip Prison is a maximum security prison, which is privately owned and ran. And then you've got Fulham, which is a private prison, which is a medium prison. And now you've got Ravenhall, which is a private prison as well. Now, I don't know what it is, but it's something about these private prisons that just breeds like just weird environments. And like, so like not even just talking about corruption, like even private prisons are run so different than a government run prison. And you know, that's why the screws are able to get away with so much, just because it's run so differently. Like, you know, say for instance, if you use like a government run prison, like say MRC, the Metropolitan Remand Centre, it's a fairly new one. It's where everyone goes on remand. Like it's really hard for screws to be corrupt in prisons like that because it's so professionally ran. And well, cameras is a big thing as well. And like this is why corruption was so big at Port Phillip Prison, because they literally, Port Phillip Prison is a maximum security prison, and they did not have any cameras until 2018. So yeah, they had like one camera in every yard. That was it outside, but no cameras in the units, in the pods, none of that. There was no such thing as cameras. Maximum security prison with no cameras is absolutely bonkers to think about. But that's why it was able to breed so many corrupt screws at Port Phillip, was because there was just no cameras. And like it was just so easy for them to you know, to do stuff. And you know, screws are getting caught all the time being corrupt and bringing things in. And it's such a simple thing. And like me myself, who's done years and years and years in prison, like it's actually pretty easy to turn a screw to become corrupt. And I think that's a lot easier than what people think as well. And unfortunately, the people that do choose to try and turn screws, they try and pick the vulnerable ones. You know, like a screw that might be overweight, that thinks, you know, she's not as pretty as the other screws, this and that. Like the crooks use that, and they will start like playing with their heads and telling them that they're beautiful and rah rah rah. And it's just the easiest thing to do, you know. Like all you have to say is, come on, miss, just write me a letter, that's all I want, you know. And you know, once you've got them hooked, like it's not, you know, once you've got them. And like I would say that the females are easier than the males. You know, but once they've written that letter, like they've absolutely 100% breaking the law, you know. Or you tell them to bring in something from home, something that you can't get in prison, you know, like even if it's a photocopy of something like that, then you've got them. Because as soon as you've got them to bring any type of contraband in, it does not matter if it is one strand of hair. You know, they cannot give you anything at all, zero. And so, you know, we tend to like start small and then work our way up. So, you know, the best one is to ask for a photocopy of something, And even though it's just a photocopy, it's 100% like they could lose their job just for bringing in a photocopy of anything, And so once you've done that, you just start working your way up, and you let them know that they've broken the law and they got away with it, and you let them kind of feel good about themselves, and let them know that they've done something good and got away with it, and then you just work on it, and then you might say, oh, I'd love some Vegemite or some Nutella or something like that. Get them to bring in a couple of spoonfuls of Nutella in a plastic container. That's what I've done. And then once you've done that, bang, you've got them, and 100 million%. Once you've got them, that's it. You ask them to bring in smokes, and then the best thing to do is usually when screws are bringing in drugs, they don't even know what they're bringing in. They think they're bringing in tobacco and stuff like that, but they're not. And most of the time they're bringing in drugs. Like they will get told that they're bringing in um, tobacco, and the people on the outside will just open that pouch and fill it full of drugs, make it look and feel like a tobacco pouch, and then they'll do it that way. um, and there is some screws that will just like, there is people in prison that are in prison for, you got to think like bulk, large commercial drug dealing, found with bulk amounts of money, bulk cars, like people have got money to throw away. And you got to think also as well, like these screws are earning between $800 and $1,000 a week. And when someone says to them, look, I'll give you $10,000 in your cash, in your account right now, if you can do this for me. And if you offer screws $10,000 for one job, like 50% of them screws are going to jump at that, like 100 million%. Like, I'll talk of times when, I'll say when I was in Scarborough South and there's only one camera in the yard and it kind of faces out towards the yard. And, we used to have a female screw. And if you know, she got caught now. Someone got caught with all her photos, naked photos of her in their cell. And, good girl. She used to come and drop off bulk amounts of drugs at a time. Like, enough amounts of drugs for her to get a large commercial drug charge, and she's bringing it inside jail walls and dropping it off in the garden, like absolutely bonkers. The first time it worked, it was like, my God, that was so easy, and it was 4 big bags of something that everyone wanted, and little parcels of this, little parcels of that, tobacco, mate, it had everything in it. And then once that landed, it just didn't stop. And like that was absolutely crazy. That was a screw that was a supervisor as well, so up there with the screws. And once again, like these people are on small amounts of pay, and when you throw them offers of big amounts of pay, and at all times, like, if you do this, I'll give you $10,000. If you bring this phone in, I'll give you $10,000. And it's as easy as that. That phone inside a prison is worth 10,000 times more than $10,000. The money that you're going to make off that prison phone inside is just bonkers. And that's another thing as well. Like, there was a big fire at the start of 2018 at Port Phillip Prison, which ironically happened right in the security, and that's where it started. So it literally shut the whole jail down. And my God, was there lots of stuff coming in the prison when that happened. Like, I can assure you that there was bulk amounts of phones, there was bulk amounts of drugs, there was bulk amounts of bupes. That was the best time for contraband in prison, when the fire happened, because the screws didn't have to walk through any of their wind. They have to walk through this machine that blows all this air. And when they walk through it, it blows all this air, and like, can tell if you've got even one particle of any drug on you, it will tell. And they were all shut down. So my God, was there some drugs and phones and everything brought in because of the fire. And also, if lots of screws lost their job during that time, just because it was so conveniently easy for them to do it. Literally, all they had to do was put it down their pants, in their sock, anything, bring it in, come through, and then once they're in, bang, they're set. And all they had to do was walk into someone's cell, pretend like they're doing a cell search or pretend like they're doing an intercom check, which they have to do every single day. They have to check to see if the intercoms in the cells are working. Bang, just drop it in your cell and away they go. And that's as easy as that. And like, it's absolutely crazy. Like, there has been found on 3 different occasions guns, like actual firearms, in Port Phillip prison. And how do you think they got in there? I can tell you right now that somebody didn't put a Derringer up their backside and bring it through a visit. I promise you that is not how it happened. It's corruption all the way. And I don't think that the screws actually got done for that, but on 3 different occasions, there has been at that one prison, Port Phillip, 3 different firearms found, and that's absolutely crazy to think that. That's actually like a little bit scary to think that people are carrying around guns when all you've got is a shank. Yeah, my last shank was as long as my arm. I'm not going to lie. It was a sword, and I would dead set be able to run that straight through someone if I wanted to. But at the end of the day, if someone's pointing a gun at you, what are you going to do? What can you do? Like, I couldn't even put myself in that position to think, what would you do if someone pulled a gun on you in prison? But people were walking around with them and feeling very safe because of that. And yeah, it's only happens for one reason, and that is corruption. And we've had screws. We would tell them, we'll give you $500 to bring a parcel in. Tell them that it's tobacco. Start off at $500, and then if they say no, you work your way up. But we've had screws bring full parcels of what they think is tobacco, but which is like ice, heroin, bupe, cocaine, every single drug that people want to take. There was even in that one, there was some crack pipes in there and everything. And like, one of those will go for $2,000 all day, every day in jail. This ice is an epidemic, and like, the epidemic doesn't stop at the jail door. Let me tell you that right now. It continues on in jail, and it does not stop. And, until the day that you can stop police corruption, officer corruption, any type of corruption, until the day you can stop that, you're never ever going to put an end to drugs in jail and police corruption and screw corruption and what they do. And let's not even talk about that. How many screws will tell you what you want to know about any single crook that is in Victoria. So like, the screws can get on their computer and access your file. Does not matter if they are at Port Phillip prison and you tell them to look up someone's file at Barwon. It does not matter. They can look up anyone's file as long as they've got PIMS, so the PIMS. So PIMS is Victoria-wide. I actually even think it's Australia-wide. It is. It's Australia-wide, and they can search up any prisoner in any prison in Victoria. You can find out about what their crimes, what they're in for, if they're a snitch, this and that. Like, let's not all talk about all these little things that the police and the screws are being corrupt about inside the jail. Like, it is not hard to find out anything you want to know on someone's PIMS file. It's got their address, it's got their family names, it's got their phone numbers. And let me tell you now, like, that corruption right there is dangerous. You can find out people's personal details from the outside from screw corruption, and it's never ever going to stop. And as long as there is some type of monetary value towards corruption, you will never put an end to it. Because like I said, somebody, like, yeah, you might be a law-abiding citizen, this and that, but everyone goes through tough times. They need money to pay for their house loan, their car loan, this, that, their kids' schooling. People are going to turn to corruption if they think it is not so bad. And you tell them, you reassure them that they're not going to get caught. Like, it is actually quite simple to turn a screw to corruption. And yeah, that's I could probably tell you a million more stories about police corruption. I know of my mates and myself who have hooked up with female screws in jail, kissing them, getting a bit of loving, this and that. Let's not talk about, it's just corruption goes from the bottom to the top, and there's no end to it. I know of probably 4 mates right now that are sleeping with screws that are inside that prison. You're never going to put an end to it, guys. All right. So that is the Chaos Chronicles, guys, and that is screw corruption. I'm going to do more and more videos on this, but we'll try to put it all into a nutshell for you. But there you go, guys. Screw corruption in prison. This is the Chaos Chronicles.
I am also the guy who decides if you and your friends walk out of here or not.